Hi, everybody. It's Elektra Yao, artist visa lawyer. I'm sorry if I'm looking at all my different cameras, but I wanted to get out this information to you. Basically, I'm going to be going live every day for the last 5 weeks of summer. This is a really intense time in the artist visa world and the EB1A artist green card world because this is the time where people are prepping and working the hardest so that they can get to the States, get to New York, get to Miami, get to LA so that they can start on their projects. So before we talk about anything specific about the O1, I want to talk to you about a notable approval that I had. Very often, clients come to me after having been to one or two or three other lawyers who say that they don't have a case. So today I'm going to talk about a visual artist. Sometimes I like to call them multidisciplinary artists. It really just depends on how I feel like I can argue the case. But I just want to let you guys know for the next 5 weeks of summer. So every day for the next 5 weeks, I'm going to be going live talking to you about notable approvals, really difficult cases, what you need to know about the artist visa, my top 10 tips. So please follow my lives, subscribe to our newsletter so we can have these conversations. So, in our firm, we have different types of cases. We have rush cases, we have cases that are regular processing cases, and this just means the processing time within my office, right? So, sometimes I have clients, especially during pilot season, who just really need to rush and be in the States, and this becomes a rush case. This means that I have to mobilize all of the different major players associated with an artist visa. So, this includes the labor unions, and sometimes for people who are actors or performers, they have multiple labor unions. This means mobilizing all the signers for the testimonial letters. This means mobilizing all the future employers. This means mobilizing all the different players that are responsible for participating within the petition. So, this particular case that I'm going to talk to you about is a visual artist who was a rush case in our office, meaning we needed to prepare the case from start to finish and submit it from our office within 1 month. So this is very challenging to do, but it's definitely very possible with the collaboration and participation of all of our staff and, of course, the client. Now, what made this case a little bit difficult, and by the way, this case was approved in 2 days, everybody. This case was approved in 2 days in a time period where USCIS is issuing really, really harsh RFEs. So this case was challenging because our client was a visual artist, and visual artist kind of doesn't really have a definition until you actually give it a definition. And the definition is usually given within the petition, so through the contracts and the testimonial letters and the legal brief. This client, in addition to being a visual artist, was also somebody who was behind the scenes within the art world. So, art handling as well, although the primary focus within the petition was his expertise as a visual artist, his ability to tell stories with visual media. Um, and this case, the client was a multidisciplinary artist as well. So was not only working within one medium, was working within multiple types of media, which made it a little bit more complex because for the officer, you really need to make it user friendly. You really need to make it so that the officer understands what the case is being presented. So, for example, if you are a very high concept artist and you're working with an attorney that really cannot understand what you're doing, that means that attorney is not going to be able to translate what you're doing into an easily digestible format for the officer to approve. So when officers do not understand what's going on within the petition, they will issue RFEs and they will deny. So it's very, very important to deconstruct the professional title of the artist, to deconstruct the different disciplines within the artist's career, and to overall just have a really strong understanding of the artistry of the client. Otherwise, you will get lost, and so will the officer. Now, again, so let's talk about what made this case very challenging and again approved in 2 days without an RFE. So, this case was challenging, number one, because it was a rush case, and number two, meaning we had to file the case within 1 month of being retained by the client. And number two, this was also a difficult case because, again, of the multidisciplinary nature of my client's work. And because the bulk of my client's work was done abroad, meaning that the evidence, the portfolio, all those materials that are necessary to prove the case were not in English, which required us to really understand the art scene where the client was from and how they categorize the client's work, which is very different from how the client was viewed here in the States. So it's important to reconcile and understand those two binaries, because once USCIS receives a petition and goes and researches about the client, USCIS is going to find information, and that information cannot contradict what is within the petition. If that information contradicts what's in the petition, then it could be that the documents are potentially fraudulent. It could be that the documents are not a reflection of the truth. So, in this process of explaining to the officer the multidisciplinary aspect of my client's case, in the aspect of rushing and trying to deliver the legal work in a timely and efficient way, and also in a successful way, because we don't want to not deliver strong work, we also had to mobilize the different aspects of, or the different signers within the client's career. So, meaning the people who are abroad, the people who are in Europe, the people who are located here, and also reconciling this issue of the client being an actual active participant, so a visual artist creating the work, and also an art handler, and explaining to USCIS what that means. So art handling and serving as a visual artist, these are two very different professions, apparently. But we were able to successfully explain that in order to successfully be an art handler and in order to successfully be a visual artist, the client needed to have a really broad understanding of both of those categories, meaning that the information that the client developed and the data that the client acquired through his work as an art handler was necessary to inspire the work that he did as a visual artist. The framework that he developed as a art handler is a framework that he utilized during his visual artist work. So again, explaining these things, sounding out these things, and couching it within the law is a very, very complex endeavor. Again, complex because of language barriers, complex because of the nature of the petition, of the client's artistry, and again, complex because we had to rush the case. So this was a good story. This was a very successful story. A client that came to us was in a rush, expiration of grace period, needed to file the case, and absolutely needed to work because what he does is very specific to New York City, where my office is located. Today, I had a consultation with somebody who is not our client, somebody who will potentially become our client, and the story was not such a positive ending. This client was also a rush case with a separate attorney, a different attorney not affiliated with our firm. But because the client was unable with her attorney to gather all the documents, mobilize, and create something within a really high legal standard, the client was no longer in artist status and had to change to tourist status. Tourist status meant that she would not be able to work on her career, so therefore not be able to develop additional evidence for a potential case. Now, these are horror stories that I hear and see all the time. Rushed cases filed by attorneys who don't really have a strong knowledge of the O-1 regulations. Rush cases where the legal work is lackluster and doesn't truly reflect the artistry of the client. And rush cases where frankly, there's not enough time and the attorney and the client had to rush. So the consultation that I had today, this is kind of a horror story. You don't really want this to happen to you, just because once you run out of time, you tend to run out of options. When you run out of options, you run out of strategy. When you run out of strategy, you run out of potential creative ways to discuss your case and obviously win your case, which is what the goal is when you're hiring an attorney. When you're hiring an attorney, you're not necessarily focused just on the immigration aspect, because immigration is a very vast area of law. It's divided into different sections, and there are very few attorneys who have a very strong knowledge of both immigration law and of the arts. So again, when you're in a rush, and you need to get approved, or you need to work with somebody who could help you get as close to an approval as possible, you want to make sure that you're choosing the right attorney to work with. You want to also make sure that you're mobilized before you even reached out to the attorney, the different players within the petition, because again, the O1 is not just you and the attorney. The O1 is you, the attorney, the people who are the experts who are going to sign the testimonial letters, the union, which is a technical requirement of the O1, the signers for your future work, your agent, if you have an agent, all of these players need to be mobilized simultaneously so that we can have the legal documents, because in the O1 world, everything is kind of connected. The advisory opinions are connected to the contracts are connected to the signers. All of this is very, very interconnected. And if you lose focus of this, it can very easily become very disastrous. So in our case, and in a lot of our cases, most of our cases, there is a very strong positive outcome because of the really important way we've deconstructed the artistry of the client, and the important way that we've deconstructed the different regulations that apply to the O1 so that it is very clear. We just received an email from another Rush client tonight after we had sent our welcome email this evening, where she said, "Thank you for this breakdown. This is very helpful. Before I even meet with you, once you become a client, we send you a breakdown, a welcome email of all of the deconstruction of the O1, so you have a clear idea of what you need to work on and what we need to work on collectively so that we move the case forward towards approval." So I'm very happy about this case. Visual artist case approved in 2 days, was a rush case within our office, no RFE, art handling, and also serving as a visual artist, both seemingly different types of profession within the art world, but we were able to successfully argue that both disciplines needed the same expertise and the same experience to be successful within both facets. So this is a case that I really, really enjoyed. And tomorrow I will also talk to you about another rush case, which was a makeup artist that we filed also in 1 month. This was a makeup artist who comes from a country where the makeup industry is not as developed here in the US. And that was also a very interesting case because obviously, for those of you who don't know, makeup is multifaceted, just like the visual arts. There are different styles and different techniques. There are different ways to do makeup for the screen, for concerts, etc. And we were very, very lucky to be able to craft a niche area within makeup for this client. And this is something that I try to do with all of my clients to make sure that they stand out from the masses that are filing O1 artist visas. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this gave you insight on what a rush case means in our office, what a complex case is, and what are the necessary steps that one needs to take to secure an approval. Obviously, this is not legal advice. No attorney can guarantee an approval, but with planning and with communication and collaboration, even the most complex cases can be approved in record time. So thank you so much for watching. As I said, I'm going to be live every single day for the next 5 weeks, these last 5 weeks of summer before the last quarter of the year starts up. And then we will have a different series. I know that I have not been super present on social media, but we have been extremely busy securing artist visas and securing green cards for our clients and their families. And we will continue to do that. But because it's summertime and it's rush time, and we are seeing a lot of artists that are rushing for their cases, I think it's important to give you a little bit more insight and guidance on this journey. It is a very complex journey, but also very rewarding because of the benefits that this visa type is able to afford you. So if you cannot turn into our lives, please email me for all of my free resources. I have an O1 checklist. I have So You Want to Be an Artist in the US guide. I have 3 or 4 different resources that all you need to do is email me and I will be happy to send it to you. Please feel free to go and read my blogs on my website, so that you can get further insight. The blogs are a little bit more technical. The free resources that I have, they're kind of like cheat sheets, and they will help you feel less alone and less scared during this process. It's written down in a very simple way so that you can understand it and start to think about your case, what you need to do, who you need to talk to, who you need to reach out to. So thanks so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. I cannot tell you what time. I will probably be live sometime in the morning. And we will talk about this notable approval makeup artist from a country where the makeup industry was not is not developed, and this case was also approved in less than 10 days without an RFE. So stay tuned for tomorrow, and thank you so much for watching. Bye, everybody.